Hello Internet, and welcome to my live reaction for Fire Force Chapter 301. When we last left our heroes, Shinra had recreated the world, and both Sho and Haumea were both really skeptical of all this because what's to stop the same thing from happening again? All the despair that led to the cataclysm will just happen again and again and again unless Shinra radically changes things. And we find out that Shinra kind of did radically change things. In that he, in his own words, made death something a little closer and more intimate. And what that seems to be doing, is, to go into Christian terminology for a minute, giving people their own stigmata. The stigmata in specifically Catholic lore, and the term is brought up occasionally throughout Fire Force, but not really used in this way. The stigmata are the wounds of Christ that sometimes, according to Catholic lore, reappear on the flesh of the faithful, specifically the nails driven into the hands. Christ's death wounds. And we see those death wounds are now all over everyone who's ever died. Haijiki's head keeps falling off. Obi's neck is keeps widening. There's a really funny gag where Vulcan just sticks some duct tape on the neck and Obi's A-okay. Because they keep living through this, is the thing. And that's kind of Shinra's answer. And Haumea's really? That's all you're kind of going for? That's not going to stop my despair. Until Shinra brings Charon back. And in the end, Charon and the stigmata thing doesn't really seem to be that important, that connected. But also, I love seeing Charon, and the Charon-Haumea relationship is one of the best parts of this series, and it's been really missing this past year. So, you won't really see me complaining there. But yeah, Haumea ends up, she hides behind her curtains for a bit, and she peeks her head out again when Charon appears, seemingly, maybe not accepting Shinra's hope, but at least being a little bit more open to it now that Charon's alive again. Anyway, all that being said, let's dive right on into Chapter 301. We open with Charon still walking up to Haumea, and he walks up to her and kneels, his hand kind of draping down beside him. And Haumea, still in that kind of uncomfortable, cutesy pose we saw from last week, just still staring at him, tears in her eyes. Anyway, Chapter 301, Choosing the Future. We have another little note about buying the official release. Our scan letter page, our real go buy the manga page. And Charon, holds his hand out to her. May I? And Haumea kind of looks away. And Charon reaches behind the curtain, picks up Haumea. And I've never really quite seen the height difference like this. Charon just hoists her. She's a good 2 feet off the ground and is barely above eye level with Charon. Again, Charon dad vibes are so good. We are a big fan of Charon and his angry adopted daughter, even if she's no longer really adopted anymore. Anyway, Shinra just watches that, smiling, thinking that now it's over. And Charon just smiles up at her, Haumea. And Haumea protests, "Don't hold me like I'm some baby." And Charon goes on, "But we've all been reborn. The whole world, even me. And you too." And Shinra watches this and tells Haumea, "Absolutely nothing is absolute, but I absolutely won't make you regret being born into a world of death." And Haumea turns to Shinra, "Shinra Bansho, man." And Shinra tells her, "Believe me." And it seems like Haumea's resistance is sort of washed away now. "Now that I've cast off mankind's collective unconscious, I can truly live." And Shinra tells her, "Damn straight." And then Haumea starts to sweat as she looks away. But then, where did all that despair go? And she looks back at the curtain crown thing that Charon pulled her out of. And specifically, we see those 3 vertical eyes. And now that I've started getting to Soul Eater, I can be increasingly uncomfortable about that because those seem to be the three eyes of the Kishin Asura. And I've said my piece by now about how much I don't want Fire Force to be a Soul Eater prequel. I think that's just sort of kind of reductive, kind of not really allowing Fire Force to be its own thing, and also inherently unsatisfying, as given that there are maybe 3 chapters left of Ohkubo's entire manga career, he won't really have the opportunity to explore what it means to be a Soul Eater prequel. But also, those eyes are in the pattern of Asura. And maybe it's just yet another callback. But there's something about the way this is framed here, the way this page is drawn. This feels more than the other kind of callbacks we've been seeing. Anyway, where did all that despair go? And then we see some sort of eminence from... Or no, maybe actually... Because we see something happen with the dome. The, black dome they're in. And maybe the dome is breaking up, actually? I can't quite tell. Because we do see some white at the top of the dome. We haven't really seen the top of the dome this chapter. So maybe it was always white. I don't know. But Haumea and Charon watch the dome. They have this close-up of the 3 eyes staring down at Haumea and Charon, just looming over them, overpowering them even. As both Charon and Haumea sort of step back in fear. Haumea more so than Charon. Charon's sweating a little bit. Haumea looks panicky. And Shinra just runs at it. And has this, jagged grin. It doesn't have a place in this world. And he just kicks the despair away from the looks of things. Interestingly enough, Shinra Bancho Man has always had this sort of ironic, demonic appearance. But that jagged smile looks even more demonic than usual. I don't know. Though I do like the callback he uses the rock and roll sign of the kicker kick from way back when. That's a neat bit. And with that kick, with Shinra kicking the curtain, the dome burns away, replacing it with light. And Shinra just smiles, go back to sleep. And then we have the sun, the Soul Eater sun. Okay. Alright. Again, still holding on to hope. This is not a Soul Eater prequel for every reason I've explained before. It's just a bad choice. But I do like this panel of Shinra smiling down at Charon and Haumea while the sun grins behind him. And Shinra tells the duo, now get back out there and live again. And Haumea looks up at him tears of joy in her eyes. And then we come back to the 4 pillars. To Amaterasu, Iris, Sumire, and Inka. And Inka tells the others, it looks like Haumea has chosen life. What do we do? And the 3 of them sort of take that on. And Amaterasu just tells them, I will disappear, along with the despair. I'm opting for death. I don't like that. I mean, Amaterasu is one of those characters who's always kind of felt like a missed opportunity. That I think I'm going to go a lot more in-depth with in the finale about some of the missed opportunities in Fire Force with Amaterasu and Inka as a character and Iris being a pillar and whatever the hell was going on with the Woman in Black and the Rift and the Evangelist's past and all that shit. But yeah, right now, Amaterasu has just always kind of felt like a missed opportunity. And if she does die here, it's kind of a disappointment. I will disappear along with the despair. I'm opting for death. And Iris protests. But Amaterasu, I have no interest in going out and living at this point. But Iris fights back. No! If anyone should disappear, it should be me, your doppelganger. But again, with Iris being Amaterasu's doppelganger, I feel like we were robbed of Iris, dealing with the fact that she's a doppelganger. That was just never brought up. Or it was never really, we never got to see her react to that. Shinra kind of put the pieces together way back in 219, and Iris never learned about that until she was dragged to Adola, and then she killed herself off screen, and Iris is just some missed opportunities. We're sort of, the problem a lot of, and I think this almost speaks to more a problem, I'm going to go on a bit of a tangent here because it's late at night, and I do that during these late at night videos, but is an issue with serialization at large a bit sometimes, in that, like, you have all of these ideas, and, so, sidebar to the sidebar. There is this comment I saw on a One Piece Tumblr user, I forget who it was, referring to, like, keep in mind that it was a comment about Dressrosa in particular, how all arcs in Dressrosa in particular here is Oda's first draft. Because as part of serialization, you can't, if you get halfway through a story arc and realize you want to change something, you can't go back and change it. It's already published. And that might be part of the issue here, is that somewhere along the line, Ohkubo decided he didn't really have much interest in exploring the world beyond the rift, where the evangelist came from, the woman in black, even stuff with Inka and the Iris and Amaterasu dichotomy. But he had already published all that, and he couldn't quite go back on it, because, it was already published for years at that point. I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with this at all, but it is it feels like if Fire Force was not a series that were published weekly, if the whole damn series were dropped at once, that this plotline in particular might not have ever happened. Like, Ohkubo at some point was like, actually, I don't want to write all this. I don't want to really write about Iris and Amaterasu. But now he kind of did that, and so he sort of has to bring it up again here at the end. I don't know. I hope I'm making sense right now, but I'm not entirely sure that I am. Anyway, moving on. If anyone should disappear, it should be me, your doppelganger. Amaterasu protests. Don't be stupid. Your eyes have always overflowed with hope. You chose to die with... Excuse me. You chose to die with Haumea out of kindness towards me and her. Iris, you should live in my place. No, you should live for the both of us. And again, because Amaterasu has never really had any kind of characterization beyond being, in intense pain from being locked up in a generator for 2 centuries, this all kind of rings hollow. And Iris has this line, a fake like me? And because we've never really seen Iris react to the fact that she's a fake, that also rings hollow, because Ohkubo just didn't fucking write that plotline. Anyway, Inka turns to Sumire. What about you, Sumire? And Sumire says, I have seen the modern age, a world of flames, and now a world of death and souls. Damn it, this is becoming a Soul Eater prequel. I don't like that word choice, Sumire. And now a world of death and souls. I don't like that. I have no interest in living as a lone human across 3 ages. Okay. So she's gonna choose, and Sumire is not enough of a character that I'm terribly upset about her just choosing death. This feels kind of right for her. Anyway. And then I think this is Iris to Amaterasu. So here we're sort of ignoring Sumire and Inka for the moment, as Iris is headed towards the light, towards returning to life. And Iris tells her, Amaterasu, thank you for shining on all of us for so long. And Amaterasu tells her, you're not a fake Iris. You're the me I always wanted to be. And that sort of leaves Amaterasu's storyline barely touched on at all, as she dies, I think. And we cut to Haumea back in the real world, kneeling. And as she cries, her tears are the last 2 souls she was holding on to, or 2 of the last 4, and bodies form from them, and it's, of course, Iris and Inka. And Shinra just grins, Sister Iris. And Iris just beams at him, Shinra-san. And Inka just has a little, half grin. God, I wish Inka actually got to be a character in this manga. I love Inka so much. She's in my opinion, Ohkubo's greatest missed opportunity, even if the fandom hates her fucking guts. Just sort of gives this, lopsided grin. And I'm here too. And Shinra's just, what? Look who came back. And Inka comments, I tried dying, but it was actually kind of lame. Which is a weird thing, given that she was A-okay with dying, until, Haumea decided not to die. But whatever, Inka's a half-written character, I can live with that. And Sho just smiles, well done, brother. Now everything is settled. And Shinra looks up and tells him, no, we're not done just yet. And the gathered folk look up and they see this little like cloud of flames. And it's death? What? Who is this? Death tells them, I have no reason to let you continue living. And Shinra just tells him, yeah, I know. A new world and a new divine order. There is one step left towards saving the world. To be continued chapter 302, Divine Judgment. Okay, I got nothing. I just got nothing. I got nothing here. I really don't. Okay. So when I saw the cloud of flame there, for a single moment I was like, oh boy, is all my complaining about the woman in black being a drop plotline finally going to come back into going to be like completely disproven, as this is the woman in black. But no, it is death or something. I don't know. Because I don't know what could be going on here. I'm trying to almost to provoke myself, work this out with Soul Eater. And I know I'm only like the start of the clown arc in Soul Eater, right? And so I know that you know, Death was a lot more like darker person pre-founding DWMA. But was he meant to be like genuinely kind of evil at some point in that show's past? I kind of don't really want to know to like not get that spoiled for me if he was. Because the whole thing of him like working with Abon, who's super evil or whatever. I think, again, 40 chapters in this manga, I don't know. But I didn't have the impression that he was genuinely evil, which is kind of the vibe I get here, because I have no reason to let you continue living. Unless that's just referring to Shinra? Because Shinra... Let me think. Thinking about Shinra and Christ and the fulfilling of scripted story roles. If Shinra has to die as Christ died, I mean, it's not quite fitting with the Christian story, but maybe that's part of it. And of course, Christ comes back in 3 days. I don't know. But there's also the line, it's not, I have to kill you. It's, I have no reason to let you continue living. Like, I don't have to kill you, but there's no reason to let you live. So I'm going to kill you, or something. I don't know. The death bit is weird. The death bit's kind of weird. I don't know. I don't quite know how I feel about that. We'll see next week how exactly Ohkubo plays with this. And then there's also the stuff with Charon and Haumea, and part of it feels a little fast. And there's the whole thing with the three eyes, the despair, the echo of Asura, that sort of Shinra just kicks out of existence real quick. That's another weird bit too. Like, what's going on with that? I just can't work that part out either. You know, the complaint with the pillar scene, it's less a complaint with this chapter as a whole and more of, you know, problems that have been lingering in the background for months now, sort of finally coming home to roost, with the fact that these are just plot lines Ohkubo did not care about, but he had to cover, I guess. But yeah, I don't know. The thing with the despair is weird. Because, just before Shinra kicks it, and then again with Sumire's A World of Death and Souls, I would say this is set up for Asura, or for the madness, or the concept of madness, or whatever. Despair becomes madness somehow in some permutation as the world changes. Despair becomes madness, but Shinra kicks it away, seemingly burning it up. You know, but he also says go back to sleep, like it might come back again. In time for Soul Eater, if this is a Soul Eater prequel. Please don't let this be a Soul Eater prequel, as I've said before. I don't know. I'm just really unsure how I feel about how Soul Eater is ending. Like, I was with it for a while, but the more it becomes Soul Eater Prequel-y, the less I'm into it. And it's not entirely the Soul Eater Prequel part's fault. You know, part of it is Ohkubo finally dealing with storylines he never really wanted to write. But I don't know. It's weird. And again, it's more a problem with the manga as a whole than with this chapter that's really bringing up how much I wish Ohkubo did more with some of these characters. Like, again, Inka could have been so fascinating, but he just didn't really feel like writing her after the Fifth Pillar arc. Iris learning she's the doppelganger of the first pillar and is herself a pillar could have been incredibly fascinating if Ohkubo had any interest in telling that story at all. It feels like we were robbed. If there is a continuation of the anime, I would want to see that stuff expanded on. That's my hot take. But yeah, I'm just keep circling around these points of it's weird and Ohkubo didn't want to write some of these storylines, and it's weird, and Ohkubo didn't want to write some of these storylines, and so on and so forth, and so on and so forth. I just don't know. So I think with that bit of rambling aside, I'm going to finally end this video off here. Hope you'll enjoy the chapter and the video itself. If you did, feel free to drop me a like or subscribe, or, do whatever makes you happy, And as always, your life is your own, okay? Bye!